Hey everybody, it's my 40-gallon waterfall tank, and I just got done feeding everybody, and one of the things I noticed while I was feeding everybody is how fast all of my new plants are growing. So I just wanted to grab the camera real quick and have a look around at a few of the tanks and show you how much it has grown in. My regular viewers will know not long ago I went out and collected a bunch of plants out of Prettyboy Reservoir near Graves Run. And when they went in the tank, I was a little bit unsure of how well they were going to take to the new environment, but they seem to be doing really well. So we're going to start with all of this stuff in here. This is my bird's nest fern. I got that from the garden center not too long ago. That's doing really well too. But look at all the new growth, all that stuff that's standing up. That's all growing up towards the light, and that is all brand new growth. I've also got enough growth that it's trailing down into the water over here. This will be in the water pretty soon. It's actually going to try to curl back up. And that's all creeping Jenny, so that's doing really well. The other stuff I planted was this real lacy, feathery looking stuff. And that is some species of water milfoil, I believe, and that is planted all the way in the back, tucked underneath of a rock, and now comes all the way up and out to the front and is laying across the surface of the water. That is an acris, this stuff here, and it's just come loose. It's still doing well. It's still growing just fine. In fact, you can see the tips actually have new growth starting on them, but they've just come sort of uprooted from where I tucked them in. I tucked a big clump of it in right there, and probably the gourami chewing on it and tugging on it has knocked chunks of it loose, and it's now floating. So it'll do just fine floating. I just haven't gotten around to getting it back tucked into the substrate, and I'm going to try to get it to root into the gravel a little bit, or if it need not rooted in necessarily, but just tucked underneath of a rock, so it gives the appearance of being rooted into the bottom of the tank. So over here in my gourami tank, we put some of that milfoil. This was maybe this tall when I put it in there, and now you can see it is almost up to the top. Well, that reflection you're seeing is in that's from my 29 right here. But look how close to the surface that's already getting. I think it's about time to get in there and do a big filter change on this tank too. We don't have a whole terrible lot of water flow going on in there, but it's enough for now. So we've got all that. Some of that milfoil got uprooted and is floating right there. You can see how bright green and pretty that is. Again, I'm going to suspect that it is the gourami was in there tugging on it and ripped a few pieces up and out from where I had sort of just tucked it underneath of a rock to hold it into the bottom of the tank. So no big deal there. This tank, all I put in it was a little bit of anacris, and likewise it's doing okay, but chunks of it have been untucked and have now sort of drifted and gotten caught in my Nubius right here. But it is still doing green, still doing well, looking green, and growing new shoots at the tips. So we're still getting new growth off of it, and that's all I'm really worried about. Didn't put anything in that tank, and what we put in this tank has already been chewed on and uprooted and never really did look right to begin with. That's a little chunk of that anacris, and it almost immediately got covered with all of the cyanobacteria and everything. This tank is so overstocked and so loaded with nitrates and nutrients and stuff. As soon as I put anything in it, it starts growing green stuff on it. You can see even that piece is floating around. See how much green growth is on that already? This piece up here is another chunk that's floating. That dark green coloration is not the green of the plant. That's the green of the green stuff, the cyanobacteria that's growing on it, just like it's growing on that wood. So pretty much anything that gets put in this tank starts growing that kind of stuff. Green spot algae grows in this tank. That's what the dark green you see on there is. And it's just what you get when you've got a way overstocked tank that's got tons of mulm and crud. And I guarantee if we took a nitrate test in this tank, it would be nice and red. There are lots and lots of nutrients in this tank, so it's just rife with growth. So we'll see what happens in this tank. Apparently the little piece that I tucked in the bottom is still surviving, but not doing too well. kind of surprised, honestly. I thought this tank would do better than the other tanks simply because of what I just discussed, all the nutrients and everything that are in there, but apparently that's not the case. The one they're doing best in is my waterfall tank, and that's because that's got the most light. But I am also really impressed with the way that is growing, tucked back there in the corner. Just look at that stuff go. Now you can also see how wide the internodal spaces are. Look at how much gap there is between each set of leaves, and that gives you an indication that it is stretching out and reaching up trying to get to that light. So that's a pretty good indication that it's not getting a ton of light, but it's getting some light. If you look at the internodal spaces on this one, look how tight they are. I mean, they're this far apart on this one, and that is an indication of it getting lots and lots of light, and it's not having to grow and stretch out. It's getting all the light it needs, so it's able to make itself much more dense and compact. I'm telling you, I love this LED I've got on this tank. It's amazing. And if you're a regular viewer, you'll know that the feathery stuff that I put in my office tank is also doing really well and looking good, and I've got some other stuff going on up there, but we'll save that for a different video. So there you go, everybody. That was just a quick look at my new plants and how well they're doing. Hope you enjoyed that. Make sure you subscribe. Don't forget, this one is my 40-gallon waterfall tank. Thanks again, and I will see you real soon on the next one.